The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome, dear souls. Thank you for joining our channel where Raphael has messages for you. And so today, because there's been so much in the world that has been upsetting and death being among them, that we're going to talk, Raphael and I, the Archangel is here with me, to talk to you about death and dying, and to know that it is a natural transition and that everybody's going to go through it. And it's not anything to be afraid of. In fact, it is a relief to let go of this physical body and to transform into what we call your glorified body. That's where your spirit becomes alive again, and it's free of this physical package that has it embodied. Because you do have a soul. You have a spirit duplicate of this physical body. And that spirit duplicate takes a trip every night when you go to sleep. It just leaves your body. Doesn't mean you've died. It just means that it's just tired and it wants to get rid of that physical body for a while. So you go into a very deep coma-like sleep. And your spirit goes free. And it gets to travel around, gets to visit your relatives and your children and whatever, can go anywhere. Off planet, go to the moon, it can go to the Mars, it can go anywhere. And it does. But today, dear friends, today, we're going to talk about death and dying because with the pandemic, there is so much of it. And now with the trouble spots in the world where people are being killed, it's very, very sad. But these souls, when their spirit leaves the physical body for the last time, sometimes it's lost. It doesn't know what happened, and it'll stay around the physical body, not knowing where to go or what to do. And that's why we want to talk about it today, because if you are aware and you know that there's life beyond this physical world, you won't be so afraid when your time comes. And since I just turned 87, I know that I'm not going to be afraid. So I'm looking at, again, Raphael's wonderful new book, Ask Raphael. It's available on Amazon for $14.44, and that is plus shipping. And you can ask for it and have it within a few days. So we do recommend this book because it talks about everything you'd ever want to know. And at the very end, here's the question. What happens when I die? Oops, wrong side. There you go. What happens when I die? And it shows a cemetery. That isn't what happened when you die. That's what happens to your physical body, unless you get cremated, which I plan to. It is not your physical body anymore that is serving you. Your spirit is, and it's alive and well when you pass on. And that's why we want to read this chapter to you, because there are loved ones that may have passed on with this pandemic, and you need to know they're safe and that they are still alive and still able to communicate with you. So, Raphael says, to the answers to the question, what happens when I die? He says, your spirit lives on. And he goes on to say, while your spirit detaches from your physical body each night, death is the final detachment from the physical world. When death nears, fear may prevent the spirit from leaving. The physical mind may cling to the spirit and refuse to let it go. Fears surrounding death come from preconceived ideas of a judgment that could send you to hell or create a fear of letting go of a loved one. It can trap a spirit within a body that no longer serves you. So, Raphael is speaking now. We always encourage you to let go of any fear of death or the process of dying. You have done it many times before. Souls declare that the birth process is far more traumatic than the dying process. We understand your fears of pain and how you relate that to death. We say unto you, each soul spirit entity will experience pain and discomfort in their physical body in some form or another all throughout life. You cannot escape the challenges of your soul's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual selves. You're quite a package. It's not just you. You got a spirit, you got a physical body, you've got a soul, you've got a mental intelligence, you've got emotional, and you've got a spiritual body. So you got quite a bit of company in this body, don't you? But it's all one. And the more you can realize that you are one with God, the more peace can enter your physical body and your emotional body and your mental body and your physical body. Even if you're in pain, it can relieve it by knowing that you're one with God. Now he goes on to say, while the soul realizes that it is gaining new knowledge and wisdom as it moves through life's successes or failures, the spirit does not. The soul knows that an experience which the spirit or the conscious mind may consider a failure or a waste of time or of little value, the soul sees it as a step forward on its journey toward enlightenment. How about that? Nothing you've ever done in this lifetime has prevented you from moving forward. In fact, it's oftentimes the, quote, mistakes, goofs, misunderstandings, unquote, that you experience can sometimes gain you more knowledge and wisdom than your successes. That's me talking. Now going back to Raphael. When your spirit has its life review, it will see the value of its deepest emotional involvement, and it will not find any judgment regarding these choices. Your council, remember you have a council of elders. This is a group of mature souls who have cycled off the planet, and every soul is assigned a council of elders. From 6 to 12 different souls will be working with you throughout your entire lifetime. You're not alone, and you need to call on them. Okay, so going back to what Raphael says, your counsel will help you see these choices from God's perspective of non-judgment, and your angels will help you gain the gift of wisdom from every decision you have ever made. Isn't that nice to know? What you may think was a bad decision, you gained knowledge and wisdom. So it's not a waste. So during your life, we urge you to see each choice as a rough gem that can be cut and polished into great value. Isn't that a lovely thought? So when you think about if you've had a marriage that hasn't worked out and you feel, boy, that was the biggest mistake I ever made. It wasn't. It was probably the greatest gift you've ever had because of all the wisdom and perhaps compassion you've gained, and patience and understanding and letting go. If you're still clinging to something that was bad, you're not doing yourself a favor at all. You are poisoning your spirit. So don't hold on to negativity. Don't even think about it. Anything that causes you anxiety, just let it go, because mulling it over and over and over again isn't going to give you more knowledge. It is going to give you a release when you let it go and allow it to be what it was, and to release it as having given you wisdom and more knowledge. So going on. The Vortex of Ascension. When the human entity no longer needs its physical form, the soul sheds it and leaves with its spirit to go through the process of death. It rises from the non-functioning body and immediately goes through what is called the Vortex of Ascension. People who have returned from a near-death experience refer to it as the tunnel, where they experienced a vibrational pulling toward a bright light, thus the saying, the light at the end of the tunnel. This process helps the spirit detach from all concerns about leaving loved ones behind. At the end of this tunnel, it becomes a light body or a glorified body. Thus begins your life in your spirit form, which we state again is an exact duplicate of your physical body. This faster vibrating body can sometimes linger on earth, hovering over its physical body, refusing to leave. This is why making the connection between you and your soul is so important. This is why you sometimes have had a feeling you have been in a place or situation before. By listening to your soul, you can save yourself a great deal of unwanted consequences of your choices. So how do you do that? How do you make contact with your soul, this larger entity that is you? Well, until you learn to meditate and let go of your conscious mind that is rattling with words all over the place, till you can still that forever speaking mind and just relax the body and allow it, you will kind of be stuck in the physical world. But Raphael goes on to say, this is why making the connection between you and your soul is so important. This is why you sometimes have had a feeling you've been in a place or situation before. By listening to your soul, you can save yourself a great deal of unwanted consequences of your choices. So that bared repeating. Now, he goes on to say, a natural growth in spirit consciousness guides the soul with its emotional partner through a life review. While some may call this review a soul's karma, it is simply the progress of viewing the soul's trials and errors while living a sentient life from the beginning levels through an intermediate phase and into advanced maturity. And in talking about that, they're talking about life experiences. You're not going to go through that in one lifetime. Unfortunately, it takes many lifetimes because you begin as a beginner with no experience whatsoever, with nothing to draw upon when you become a physical person. You don't have any conscience whatsoever because you have nothing to guide you as to what will happen if you do this or so. Only through doing do you experience the consequences. So you cannot judge a baby soul. It's just taking care of its physical needs and discovering that it has physical needs. When you put on this spacesuit called a human body, the spirit within has to figure out how to make it work, how everything works. And as a tiny infant, it is totally dependent upon other people to take care of its needs. All it can do is cry when it's not comfortable, if it's hungry, or if it's wet, or if it's not very good smelling. Somebody has to take care of it, or it could die. Now, he goes on to say, a natural growth in spiritual consciousness guides the soul with its spiritual partner through a life review. While some may call this review a soul's karma, it is simply the progress of viewing the soul's trials and errors while living a sentient life from the beginning levels through an intermediate phase and into advanced maturity. Everybody's going through that. He goes on to say there is no judgment of this natural development of the soul, nor are there consequences except to become aware of what it has created within the physical experience. This explains why God does not judge the soul when it is exploring the physical dimension, nor does God need to create any afterlife consequences such as a hell. It doesn't exist. That's the imagination of humans who believe in judgment and punishment and whatever. Humans have created that. God hasn't. So Raphael goes on to say, Your life review expands your spiritual knowledge and awareness after death. God reveals to you through a life review all your words and deeds, thoughts and dreams from your very first beginnings of your life. Some call God's mind the Akashic records. Few select people have permission to tap into that divine memory. Yet, for your soul's advancement, all is revealed to you in detail at the end of your soul's journey. Now, in the next page, in the next part there, we talk about near-death experiences. We suggest you go on YouTube and look up near-death experiences. We believe that this is probably the best way for you to have an understanding that there is a transition from this particular life, that when this physical body is no longer serving you, you shed it like a coat. That is now summertime, you don't need that overcoat anymore, so you just get rid of it. So, when you have this experience of shedding that overcoat, you feel that freedom. Oh my goodness. It's wonderful. Not that I've experienced it, but I've heard a lot of people who say that. And you don't want to come back. You may have loved ones, you may have unfinished projects, but once you've experienced the freedom of not having to wear this physical body, believe me, you don't want to come back. And yet, you don't have a choice sometimes. You have to come back. And so, when you do, you have new knowledge because you've been given a review of your life. And if you read some of the stories, you see how it changes their life. How where they might have been kind of running wild, they suddenly pull in the reins of their soul and they say, whoa, let's take a closer look at this and see where it is we're going and what it is we're creating. You get a chance to do that in a near-death experience because you get to look at your life. So that's pretty cool. But it also tells you that the direction you're going probably needs to change. And a near-death experience will guarantee a change in direction. So don't be afraid of death. This is really what it's all about, to give you a taste of death so that you realize it's not death at all. It's just a change in dimension, a change of viewpoint, a change for the good. So that's why people don't want to come back. You want me to take on that physical body again when I've been free of it? Are you out of your mind? And it would seem so once you've experienced the freedom of that physical body. You don't have it anymore. You don't want to put it back on, particularly if you've been experiencing pain. And yet, when you have to, there is a divine purpose to speed you along the road to enlightenment. So don't ever decide to commit suicide. So we're going to talk about that next. When an entity, also, this is on page 261 in Raphael's book, pretty cover, right? 261, suicide. When an entity contemplates suicide, alarm bells sound. God sends angels and advisors to help lift the person out of the darkness of those thoughts. For suicide only turns the soul around and sends it right back. Others have said of this. So they're right back into the same situation or consequences into the next life. You can't escape it. Understandably, when pain is more than a person's spirit can handle, an exit through suicide may be the sought-after relief. But again, we say God's infinite compassion never judges a soul's choices. Even though, we'll say 99% of the time, suicide is not a good choice, it's never a choice that is condemned. You are still received with a great deal of love and compassion, and you sometimes go to a hospital on the other side where you have loving members of the spirit world and of the angelic kingdom to help you recover from that trauma, because physical pain can be something out of this orbit, and your spirit is guided by loved ones or I should say by trained loved ones, because it isn't your grandmother that's going to come and help you. She could be there and greet you, but she's not the one trained to help you if you have to recover from a very long-lasting illness that caused a great deal of pain. You will be given the tools that are needed in that situation to heal your spirit. So, again, we say, this is Raphael talking, God's infinite compassion never judges the soul's choices when it comes to suicide. It knows only experience and teach the soul to make better choices in the next incarnation. While the taking of one's life is not a good choice, we again say there is no judgment from God or from the person's counsel. Instead, there is love and patience. If the human believes suicide to be a sin, they may find themselves in the between world, where their fears of punishment may be experienced. Your long-held beliefs are powerful and can create your afterlife. And that's in bold print, so I'm going to repeat it. Your long-held beliefs are powerful and can create your afterlife. Maybe better do some rethinking here. So he goes on to say, after a time of rest and healing, the counsel will help them help the soul plan another lifetime where the story repeats the dilemma that brought them to choose suicide. In other words, you have to get to that emotional dilemma all over again. So that's why suicide is really a bad choice, because you just have to go back and go through it again. That would be dumb. No judgment though, right? So the difference will be a vague memory that suicide did not gain them the necessary escape from these challenges, and hopefully they will make a wiser choice to stay and gain wisdom from the experience of deep depression or horrific pain. For only by facing one's life experiences with courage and determination to make it better can it be for the soul's greatest advancement. It is always a matter of rising above fear and anxiety. Your council of elders is the translator of the mind of God as to your soul's plan. Your purpose as an explorer of planet Earth is to gain the greatest knowledge and wisdom from the expedition. God is in constant awareness of your soul's thoughts and emotions. Sometimes the soul may shrink from incarnating again if it has returned from a particularly difficult lifetime. Raphael says God is patient and kind and understanding. It will never force the soul to incarnate. It will encourage the soul to continue to study the physical world through another incarnation. Perhaps 100 of Earth's years may pass before the soul resumes its studies, for it will never progress in learning the art of creating without experiencing sentient life on a physical planet. 100 years may seem like a few hours within the spirit realm. We need not remind you that each new life without that cycle begins with a birth and ends with a death. Humans fear death because they are not aware of the bigger picture of their soul life. And I ask the question here, is it possible for a human to be born without a soul? Raphael says, no, it is not. A soul is the life breath within a physical body. Without a soul, the body cannot survive. And that's why we've spoken before about abortion. The soul does not enter the physical body until the umbilical cord has been cut, because up until that point, the mother's life is feeding the soul or feeding the body. And the soul does not need to give its life breath until after the umbilical cord is cut. Doesn't that make sense? It did to me when I learned it. But that doesn't mean that abortion is the right way to go. It just means that, again, there is never any judgment from God about choices that you make. Most people who do go through an abortion live in agony of their choice. They have just all kinds of emotional trauma from it. It depends on what you believe. So going on. At the moment of birth, the soul entered your human body as a particle of itself in the form of what we call your spirit. Much of the new human's awareness of its soul depends upon its number of previous lifetimes within the physical dimension and how much wisdom has been gained from each life experience. Beginner souls do not know their human personality. It has no conscious awareness of itself, the soul, or of God, because their soul has had no previous experiences to call upon. Only through the sentient life experiences within the physical world does the soul grow in understanding the consequences of the choices it makes as their physical vehicle of expression. That's what it's called. This body, no matter how old it gets, is your physical vehicle of expression, and your soul dwells within it. And your soul is who you really are. Okay. Raphael goes on to say, try to remember that life and death within the human drama is only part of the soul's story. The human costume wears out with age because of the pull of gravity and the ingestion of foods that can deplete the body's energy, with the results sometimes bringing about illness. When your counsel helps your soul select the DNA from your parents, way back in the beginning, some recessive genes that can lead to your exit off the planet may be part of the package through illness such as cancer and other debilitating diseases. Each exit offers a wondrous opportunity for releasing fear by rising above all negative feelings to soar with the angels and be an inspiration for all who walk with you. Let's look at that for just a moment. Your counsel helps you select. Your DNA decides what parent is going to contribute what, because your soul knows what it wants to create. It knows what kind of a body it needs. It will choose to be masculine or feminine. It will choose the type of body because it already has a plan or a story it wants to tell. So think about that. That with the help of your council of elders, you are divinely guided to plan this life. And whatever physical experiences you've had, I'm going to go here. Looking for comments from some of you. No comments. Please, I'm going to ask you, I don't always even think about it, but please subscribe to our channel. Please share it with others, because we are here to be of assistance beyond what most physical counselors can give you. Raphael gives you counseling on your soul, your spirit, and what's going to happen before and after the life. And that's really what the angels can do for you. So do tell others about our channel, please, and do subscribe so you know when we're here. Okay. Okay. Going on with Raphael says in this chapter, when your counsel helps your soul select the DNA from your parents, some recessive genes that can lead to your exit off the planet may be part of the package through illness such as cancer or other debilitating disease. Each exit offers a wondrous opportunity for releasing fear by rising above all negative feelings to soar with the angels and to be an inspiration for all who walk with you. Remind you again of your gift of free will that allows you to change the situation by making a different choice. You make thousands of decisions each day, from what time to arise to when to sleep, what to wear and what to eat, and so forth. Each seemingly small choice is always a building block of your future. The outfit you chose this day may bring you a needed compliment. You may have been inspired to choose it, but if you chose another outfit instead, you may not have received the compliment, but you would not know the difference. So there's no disappointment, right? Now, people always ask, what about karma? And I think this is important, so listen up. Karma speaks to the concept of balance. All things will become balanced sooner or later. It is a natural order of things. Now, he puts this in bold print, so listen up. You come back again and again because you are an apprentice under the master creator studying a physical world. You committed to an entire cycle of lives to fulfill your contract. You can't just get out of it. You're learning about physical worlds. And to do that, you had to put on a physical costume and really get immersed in the physical world. And during this time of the coronavirus and the epidemic that keeps sprouting up all over the place, death is next door. Your loved ones, many of you, have met death through the COVID virus or from perhaps violence, because there's still so much violence in the world. Our gun laws don't exist, and children can have guns that can kill hundreds of people. Doesn't make much sense, does it? No, it's greed, money, power. I'm getting off subject here. Going back, what about karma? Okay, each time your soul returns with a new body and a new story, it excitedly looks forward to the adventures it will encounter. Like any good story, it knows its leading character will face challenges. You have been returning to your planet again and again over eons of time, growing with knowledge and wisdom. Yes, you've been back many times. This is not your first encounter. Because if you're listening to this show, you're not a beginner soul. I can guarantee it. That means that you have a great deal of wisdom and you are hungry for more. And that's why you're here. And we do recommend get Raphael's book so that you can study it. Ask Raphael. It's on Amazon and it just says channeled by Betty Ray. Okay, that's another story. What is channeling? We'll talk about it another time. Right now, we're talking about what about karma and after you have a death experience, or when it's time for you to end the life on this planet. It's no accident, even when you have an accident and die from it. That's part of the plan. And it's sometimes a quick and easy way to get off the planet. You didn't go through a long, drawn out death. But on the other hand, if the long, drawn out death, it's mostly because of the people around you that can't let go. But that's not always the case. Every individual is different. So going on, talking about karma still. Contrary to some beliefs, incarnating is a privilege, not a punishment. For those of you who may be experiencing a life of sorrow and pain, of mistreatment from others, be assured that we are here to assist and uplift you, out of the darkness and into the light. Remember, this is Raphael talking, not Betty Ray. Although I think I'm here to be that channel so that you can hear Raphael's words. I've agreed to this, to be a telephone, and that's all I am. I don't have the wisdom, Raphael does. So he goes on to say, all experiences within your physical world have a golden nugget of wisdom worth far more value than any mineral upon your planet. God would never limit your soul's choice to explore. Most souls love coming to Earth to tell their stories, believe it or not. They are the author of their stage play as well as the leading character, the director and producer, using moment-by-moment inspiration to make the story come alive by expressing passion and excitement. Are you excited about your life? If not, you have free will. Choose another direction. And we just talked about someone who's kind of stuck. Family and COVID and all kinds of one thing after another. It is a time of times of struggle and patience and deprivation. It's a terrible time we're in. people without jobs, people without food, people dying. And yet, it's part of a soul story on life's on this planet. But there's another life after it, people. Once you shed this physical body and leave it behind and move on to the next dimension, what do people call that next dimension? They call it heaven. Why? Because there is no more strife, there is no more negatives, there is only positive joy, love, compassion. That's why they call it heaven. Because you leave the polarities of this planet behind you. There's only love, there's only peace, there's only harmony. Of course they'd call it heaven. So don't be afraid of death. But on the other hand, if you choose suicide, you're not going to get heaven. You're going to get confusion and be sent right back like a swinging door. Just turn around, come right back. So that's not a good thing. All right, going on. Raphael says, yes, you may say that some souls' stories are horrendous. Still we say unto you, the bigger picture reveals the reasons behind each story, for it is always a balancing of emotions so you can experience all of the challenges and joys of your planet's polarities. From the human perspective, this may seem to be inhumane. Some may ask how God can allow such evil to exist. Understand, God does not interfere with the soul's life, or else your story would not be beneficial. First-hand experiences are, indeed, the best teacher. And take it from me, who was a teacher for over 30 years. Your soul does not tell its story. You, as its leading character, tell the story. Your soul is more of an observer of your life, while at the same time, it is the director and producer of your play. Now, I'm getting off track here for a moment, but when I was teaching 8th grade language arts, I had to figure out a way to make the kids understand it was important to learn grammar. Duh. They said, grammar, that's awful. I don't want to do it. So we created the job search game where they had to learn to read a want ad in the newspaper. They had to get different application forms from a half a sheet of paper from a garage to a 8-page from a bank, and they had to learn how to fill it out. They had to learn how to write a letter of inquiry. They had to join. Anyway, it was so successful because the students learned from their own experience. And every time they sent a letter out, a letter of inquiry, the place where they sent it to could find mistakes and charge them money. That was part of the game. So it behooved them to be a little more careful. And the group that they chose were usually from the smart ones all got together and the goof-offs all got together, which didn't prove to be good for them, proved to be great for the smart ones because they aced it. So we did this. My inspirations that come from my angels and guides created this job search game, which was indeed published. It's no longer in publication, but if anybody's interested and would like to do it as a teaching thing, just let me know and I would give them permission to use all of the materials. Now, I suppose I got to watch the time. I always run out of time. So we're going back to the book. Raphael says, therefore, we encourage you to become acquainted with your spirit duplicate that holds all your desires and beliefs through which you create. We encourage you to document your emotions. They are the keys that unlock your treasure chest of success and happiness. Let's take a minute to expand on that. I've been journaling ever since I was 12 years old. Yeah, I had my first diary back then, 5-year diary. Well, that little tiny space that it gave me for the year was never enough. So I wrote all the way through the book. And I've been doing it ever since I was 12 years old. And it has allowed me to see my life from the outside of myself rather than being so caught up in the emotions which are so dominant in today's world. It's amazing how people are acting out their emotions without any thought of the consequences. They just act on their emotions and they're runaway. So when you start paying attention to your emotions and you can look at them from a different perspective, you begin to gain wisdom about what it's like to be a spirit in a physical body with a soul. We recommend you think about that. And I'm telling you that my journaling helped me through a lot of pain and emotional suffering throughout my life. It helped me to be open to an angel, an archangel, by the way, that would speak to me through my writing. I really had a hard time at first, thinking, man, I've got a wild imagination here, but I never thought of this before or that before, until I realized it wasn't me. And eventually I learned it was the Archangel Raphael. Now, you all have a guardian angel. You all have access to all of the archangels. They're not exclusive to one person. They're open to all of you. And yet, they cannot help you unless you ask, unless you call upon them for advice. They cannot help you. Their hands are tied. They cannot interfere in the life of any human being on any physical planet. So, we say to you, be open. And if it helps, like it did me, to write it out, and you'll find that's how I started communicating with Raphael. I was writing out my thoughts and my emotions, and I asked the universe a question, and I got an answer that I knew wasn't me. It was beyond my knowledge, so I knew it wasn't me. And I very hesitantly, I kind of stepped back from my computer and went, uh-oh, what is this? And then I came back and I said, who are you? And Raphael answered. And I've been in contact with Raphael for more years than I can count. And it's what led me here to you to have this channel. And so again, I'll ask you to tell people about us, to make sure that you get in the groove and bring yourself to sign up for this channel and tell other people about it, because we're here to relieve you of the pain and anxiety of being human, to allow you and your spirit to soar with joy and peace and harmony, and to know that the solutions to your problems, whatever they are, will be given to you in an inspiration that comes in a flash. You will know what to do. And I see so many people, because of the pandemic, because they are souls that are so used to helping other people, they give up their own lives to be of service to others. And it can sometimes lead them down a path that can be destroying their own health. So we'll say to you right now, we are here for you. If you want to have a private consultation with Raphael, email us at angelbettyray@gmail.com. And you can check out our webpage, angelbettyrayandraphael.com. But do contact us on our email, angelbettyray@gmail.com. And we will be more than happy to give you a free time with Raphael. Any questions that you have can be answered by this wonderful being of light. So again, don't hesitate. Email us, angelbettyray@gmail.com. And so, going on now, we're just about getting close to the end of time. So we'll kind of skip ahead a little bit here and come to this page where he says, it is a privilege to explore a physical world. So he goes on to say, while some may look upon the concept of incarnation as a necessary evil, we say unto you it is a sacred privilege. Many souls who desire to play on your planet's stage cannot return during its present transition. Mother Earth has demanded that only advanced souls may incarnate until her body recovers from the many scars she has endured. As advanced souls visit Earth again, they will witness a magical healing of all the planet's bruises and scars. You will, in the near future, find your planet filled with green life and clear, sparkling water. Souls in the future will come and enjoy Earth as a paradise, as originally designed by the Creator. That's good news, isn't it? Now, he goes on to say, you may ask for a timeline of this prediction. For you who measure time, it would be disheartening to say it could take many years. After the present immature and destructive souls pass into spirit, young souls with more mature souls will take over. There is already a surge of consciousness among the young who are now demanding of their elders to wake up to the destruction of their home planet. More young people throughout the world are taking power from those who seek only their own self-interest. And we are coming to the time when we have to say goodbye. And we thank you for coming to visit. Please subscribe and please tell others about our channel. We're here to uplift and inspire you and tell you that you are not alone, that there are many angels surrounding you. Just call upon them, and do call upon the Archangel Raphael. Until next time, God bless you.